Thank you, Mr. Sharian. Up next, we'll be having a topic on digital media, a must for business today, presented by Mr. Kenneth Ho, Director of BEAMSTART. Kenneth focuses on helping entrepreneurs tap into valuable networks, financing, and market access. He's currently leading an entrepreneurial platform that helps introduce people to potential clients, career opportunities, and partners or investors.
Hi guys, welcome back. It's me, Jason Low again. And with this session, I have Kenneth Ho, the director of BEAMSTART with me today to talk about digital media. Is it a must for businesses today? I know that BEAMSTART has been a media partner for Data Asia itself. And when I met Kenneth to talk about strategies on how we can actually pull in the attention of various B2B companies out there, Kenneth has been giving a lot of data and directions in terms of how, because of running a digital media platform for many years, and with up to 250,000 members in his communities, we are able to derive various strategies to actually help Data Asia as an event itself execute the whole event. So hence, I thought it was a great idea to invite Kenneth over here to talk about how can digital media actually help businesses today. So, hey, hi Kenneth, thanks for joining us today.
Hi. Thanks so much, Jason, for having me.
Yeah, I hope there are virtual claps behind our virtual presentations now. So with this, I'd like to bring into our first question for today. So how did actually BEAMSTART started? How did this idea grow to what it is today?
Sure, thanks so much. So Beam actually started as a hobby, right? And what happened was I was running another business at that time, and I wanted to meet more entrepreneurs. So what I did was I threw an event. And what happened was the response for that event was phenomenal. Like so many people came, and we just kept running more of these events, as a hobby, and people just kept coming, right? And so what happened eventually was we decided to build this community around all these events, and introduce content, and resources for all these people within the community. So of course today what has happened is that we have grown quite a lot in a few countries. And we have about 250,000 community members around the world. And so what we do, our goal is to be a connector to support entrepreneurs out there with valuable connections, investments, resources for their business, because we believe that entrepreneurship is really the foundation of the country, right? Entrepreneurs build businesses and they hire people, they create innovative things. And so we need to support more of these people who are building great companies. And so that's what we stand for. And we try our best to be the go-to platform for entrepreneurs and even investors and professionals out there. But that's what we do today. And so we have two segments of the business. We have a community where people join and they can connect with each other, exchange business cards, exchange resources. And we also have a news portal, a resource portal, where we update the community with the latest news, what's happening, latest events, and so forth. So yeah, that's BEAMSTART in a nutshell.
Right. So in terms of like running a digital media-based companies, typically when we get feedback from businesses on how can they promote or actually scale their businesses, many times they do not look into digital media as a viable option for them. Or even like, how do I get more leads? How do I get more business connections from there? And it's interesting to know that that is what BEAMSTART is all about. You guys are there to connect businesses, are there to connect entrepreneurs. So what is there that you usually tell these kind of traditional owners about digital media and how it can actually help their businesses grow?
Sure. So, ever since the pandemic started, people have been at home, and most of what they do is online today. In fact, I saw a statistic recently that online media has surpassed traditional media by more than 50% market share, which means there is more online media that people are digesting today, and a lot of it is on, say, platforms like social media, right? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. And so that's where people are today. That's where they get their news today. And many businesses are not making that shift as fast as they should be. And even if they did, they were not doing it the way that works, right? It's very different from, say, traditional media like, say, TV and radio. Why? Because in TV, in the world of TV, here there is a piece of content and then there are advertisements. And you have no choice. You have to watch those advertisements. You are sort of at the mercy, right? The consumer has to follow what the production company shows them. Whereas in the social media world is a bit different, where you have a little bit more control of the content that you watch, and there's a lot more tools for businesses to actually target specific consumers. The problem is that a lot of businesses, they are very new to this world, and what they do is they think that it works like the traditional space, where they just post up an ad and they hope that people convert. But in today's world on social media, consumers have the option to turn off ads or change what they watch. And so a lot of businesses find that they may not get enough, they don't get the results they want digitally. And that's not because digital doesn't work. It's because it's a very different approach digitally. And so we think that the digital space is all about engagement. It's all about content. It's all about entertainment. It's all about what keeps people watching stuff, right? What's engaging for people. And so if we're going to market if you're going to market something to a consumer, whether it's B2C or whether it's B2B, it's all about storytelling, right? It's all about education. It's all about engaging them in a personalized way. And I think that's where a lot of the businesses are still adjusting to do. They have come a long way. I think today a lot of them have improved the quality of their content, but it's still getting there, right? And so where BEAMSTART comes in is we're a news company, and we cover professional or more business news. And so we use our platform coupled with social media and online marketing to push out news or push out knowledge or information about a particular brand or product to the consumer. And so because consumers tend to get information from news sites, there's a higher likelihood that they're able to understand something after they read some sort of piece that we push out. And so we're not the only one doing this. There are many people doing this, but fundamentally, it's all about content. It's all about engagement. And of course, if something is endorsed by a third party, there's a higher likelihood that people will actually try it out or check it out. And so, we're living in that world today where it's all about attention, getting people's attention. And so it has to be captivating, it has to be engaging, and we try to be in that space to help businesses achieve their goals through this approach. Yeah.
I have received multiple feedbacks from what I call more cold businesses, where when I check their Facebook page out, and I realized they don't have a Facebook page, right? And when I question these kind of SME owners, why don't you at least have a Facebook page? Because that is where we feel people will actually search our businesses these days, not only on Google anymore, but also mainly and primarily in social media, right? And then most of the times the answers that I will get, it's about, oh, my business is so boring. What is there to talk about? Can I do content on accounting? Is there some content about taxes? I'm in manufacturing, I design CNC steel and stuff like that. I feel that it's not relevant to social media, to news, or anything in the media space. Are you a believer that actually everything can be angled to be utilized in the digital media space, and not one business is not suitable for what's going on right now?
Sure. I mean, well, definitely some businesses will still be able to drive their revenue without online marketing, right? Without any form of online presence, they're still fine, right? But online presence plays a very different role, right? So one of those roles is what I think is brand preference, because in the past, businesses are geographically centered, right? Where you could open a shop and people just come to your shop. You serve that community, the local community, and that's about it, right? But in the digital world, suddenly the whole world is connected, and people could find similar product or services from people who produce the same thing somewhere else in the world, right? And so with platforms like Lazada or Shopee, suddenly I could buy a Japanese product, right? I could buy something that Malaysian companies don't produce. And so yes, maybe you are a semiconductor company, but there is no stopping some newer company by a younger guy who suddenly feels that I don't know much about the semiconductor space, so I Google search and I find a Taiwanese company doing this, and I end up buying from him because that was the guy I found, right? And so one part of it is that discoverability, right? Where there are a lot of people out there that are looking for something that you may offer, that have no clue that you offer it. And so the internet gives you that opportunity to reach them, right? Lead generation. But the other part of it is really brand preference, where I might know about you, I might know that you're doing semiconductors, but maybe I did a research to check which companies are the best semiconductor companies. And what happens is the companies that produce content and put their stuff online, they get the traffic, right? They get the leads. And so I think anything can be content today. I mean, anything can be turned into content, right? If you're a semiconductor company, the content could be, what does your business do? How do you fabricate the microchips? How does the factory look like? A day in the life of an employee working there. So many things can be done, right? And so anything could be content. And all these content, if they are articles, they are indexed by Google, they could be on the search engine, right? People could find it. And so this increases the likelihood of discoverability and even lead generation. And so this is good, right? There's no loss in this space, right? And so traditionally, you needed a website, right? You needed to build this website and put all your content up there. But today you don't have to. You could just sign up for Facebook. It's free, right? You just have to post stuff. You could just register for 5 social accounts and you have 5 websites now, right? And so yes, in a way, the website is becoming slightly more obsolete as a corporate presence only, but it's still good to have one because that's where people find you, right? And as long as people can find you, you get paid. So I do think that is something that more businesses should be doing.
Right, Kenneth. So the next thing that I would like to move on into, right, is especially when we run any sorts of awareness in digital media, across the news and things like that, we utilize this kind of presence to actually collect data of probably our consumers, like who responded to our articles, who viewed it, and usually typically, hopefully as a business, we can then capture all this kind of data where we can use for various business decisions per se. However, most of the times when I meet these kind of SMEs, their first question or the misconception that I would like to say is that they feel, okay, I've done something, or the readers or viewers did something in another person's website, and it ends there. At the end of the day, I as a business, I don't think I benefit too much from it. So what's your take on what would be the typical strategies that businesses can use after they do everything on the digital media platform? They can actually then capture and utilize these kind of data more effectively.
Sure. So one of the things I realized about meeting, what people categorize as SME companies, right? More traditional businesses or brick and mortar businesses, compared to say the startup and the technology company space, is that they understand technology very differently, and they have been around at different durations, right? So a traditional business has been around for 20 years. They have got results, they have got customers, they have success. And so sometimes success can be the thing that holds them back from exploring something new, because what I've done works all the time, right? And so they are a little bit more resistant to new things. And it's a very different world. Like, I'm in my 30s and I find the cryptocurrency space very challenging, very surprising, very new for me. I don't know what the coins are, but it's kind of the same for traditional businesses. What is the internet? What is this Facebook thing? How do I use it? Wow, I know I put in 1,000 ringgit in advertising and it's gone just like that, right? So it's a very new world for them. And I guess the thing that really bridges the gap between them is how we communicate with them, right? How we help them understand what is this new world, right? And when we go into this post-pandemic space, there's a lot of jargon now, like, oh, you got to go digital, you got to digitalize, you have to go cashless. And these are all terms, but they don't know what the significance of cashless is, right? So for, like, say, cashless payments, youth prefer cashless payments. More younger generation don't want to carry cash because they're afraid that they might get robbed or something. So they rather pay with their card or an e-wallet. And so by not accepting cashless payments, they're losing out on revenue from the younger generation. And so this was just an example, but we have to put it into context for these older generation. And so we talk a lot about data, right? Why is data important? How does it help businesses or traditional businesses? And the main difference is that everything in the digital space can be tracked. Everything in the digital space can be monitored, and you have some kind of information out of it, right? You have some kind of data from there, right? And so you can tell, if content you're posting up has people looking at it. You can tell whether people are reading the content, how far they scroll down the content, whether they click on a link. And so if they clicked on a link, but they didn't buy the product, maybe there's a problem with the product or the price. If they checked out, but then they stopped at the checkout, at the payment page, maybe the payment page is too complicated or the price is too high or something was a barrier. And so the digital space allows businesses to, measure and make what we call data-driven decisions, right? And sometimes these things are real time. You get information now. Whereas if it's a television ad, you have no idea who watched it. You have no idea whether people are actually engaging because of the ad, or like a billboard. Billboard companies tend to say we have over 1 million people seeing the billboard every day. Really? How do I know? Are people really looking at it? And so the online world gives that power to businesses. They can track what the consumer is doing, and they can make decisions from there, whether to continue spending on that area or not. Traditional spending is, hey, you spend a couple $100,000 and then you get some ad, and that's it. You have no measurement, whatnot. And so, we are in the newspaper sort of news space. And so we sort of compete with news companies, traditional news companies. And we find that, a large portion of revenue from competitors who are in the news business are from print, where they still make a lot of money from print advertising because that is the space where traditional businesses are familiar with. And that is the space where they can't track what's happening. And so they can keep harvesting revenue from these traditional businesses. But you know what? Tough luck. The younger generation are getting older and they are starting businesses too. And the older generation are slowly exiting the market. And the younger generation are more savvy. And so they don't care about print anymore. They don't care about traditional advertising as much anymore. Or they see traditional advertising as a very different medium for getting a result. Maybe, for example, Grab does billboard advertising more for branding because everyone already knows Grab's brand, but they use billboards to remind you, that they're there, right? It's no longer about getting a lead or getting a user. And so back to the initial question, data is very powerful for business. And of course, the online space has its purposes, right? It has its use, and it can help businesses in very different ways from traditional means.
Right. All right, thanks for the explanation, Kenneth. So currently we are going to take a very short break. Coming right back, we will talk more about how digital media can actually help your businesses. Stay tuned, guys.
Greetings everyone, my name is Yenling.
And my name is Normi.
Welcome to Data Asia 2021, where we can connect business virtually and experience the gamification event at the same time. We hope that you will enjoy this virtual event starting from May 24th to May 30th. Well, the good news is you can experience this event from wherever and whenever you like, as we are open for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
So, how was your virtual experience? We hope that you had a great explorations during the Data Asia 2021. Remember, book your slot for Data Asia 2022 and contact our sales representative for more information or call.
Thank you for visiting Data Asia. We hope to see you next year. Bye.
Hi guys, welcome back to today's session. And in this current session, we have Kenneth Ho, the director of BEAMSTART, to talk to us about how does digital media actually helps businesses. So continuing on our conversation earlier, I was just talking to Kenneth about how data is relatable to businesses and how these kind of digital platforms can actually help businesses to get all this kind of data and whatnot. So but the point of actually doing all this in the first place for any sort of businesses, right, be it for SMEs, manufacturers, or everything, is to gather them into their base, to get leads, to build certain sorts of communities around them. However, if you put traditional retailers per se, they would do this through maybe like a type of loyalty system. They go in front of the cashier, they go register some kind of card, they get a physical card, bonus link lah, what kind of membership card lah, right? Then they bring it home. So in terms of retailers or other businesses per se, that is the way they believe things to be done. Right? But now that we are in the digital space, we believe that capturing data and transform them into our database is a whole new strategy, whole new method of doing these kind of things in the first place. So what's your take about this, Kenneth?
Sure. I mean, definitely, data, they say data is the new oil, right? Where data is very valuable today. But, that's from the context of big companies or corporates, right? But for small companies, you can capture a lot of different kinds of data. But the question is, what kind of data is meaningful, right? What kind of data is important? And fundamentally, it's all about working backwards, right? What's the end goal? Is it if it's to get a sale, or if it's to get a repeat sale? So what is it for? So for example, if let's say it's a B2B company, they have say a loyalty solution, then before a customer buys the solution, they have to understand what it is first, right? Before they buy it. And so there is a journey that the customer goes through before they actually make the purchase. And the digital world can actually bring forth some kind of a consumer experience or a journey that leads the customer to first understand what is this solution before making a purchase. And so, for example, it could be an article that talks about the problems of businesses, what they face with regards to customer loyalty. Maybe no one is being loyal and how this new solution can solve it. And so the content serves as education, as insight, right? But content alone doesn't drive a result. It doesn't drive a call to action, right? And so a call to action is basically, something that they have to do once they're there, right? And so if they read an article, a good call to action would be, hey, if your business is struggling from, lack of retention from customers, maybe you could check out this other piece of content or this other thing. And that requires them to register. And so that act of registering is a form of a lead capture. You're capturing some personal information and maybe some contact information of the client, so that you can, nurture the relationship with them. What a lot of businesses tend to do is they capture the lead and then they just start spamming advertising stuff to them. And that usually kind of, annoys the customer and then they drop off sometimes. And so the purpose of lead capture sometimes is to nurture the relationship and to add value to the customer's life so that they want to come back more, right? So that they think of you first when the problem happens again. And so the next time they have a customer dropping off their store, they will think of you as a customer retention platform. But by capturing customer contact information or leads per se, there's a lot of things you can do with it, right? You can send newsletters, you can send call to action to buy, special offers. You can bring them back to the store if you're a restaurant and you had their phone number or their email address. And so, one of the things that we do at Beam is that we build customer relationship software and we deploy it at restaurants and retail shops. And it's surprising. Like we found that over 70% of these customers that we reach out to, these stores, they don't have any form of lead capture. They don't capture any leads at a restaurant. People go in there, they eat, and then they leave after they pay. They have no clue who the customer is. That's it. All they know is how much they paid, right? And so they could do so much more if they just knew who the guy was, right? They could do so much more if they could reach out to the guy. And so what happens is by not capturing these leads, they are relying on organic traffic. They are relying on organic footfall, people walking into the store on their own. But with the pandemic, people take away, right? People don't go and eat out. And so where do they decide what to eat? It's, what they're craving for, or what was the last thing they saw. And so if you had a way to reach them either by social media, by retargeting them in their email or sending them a newsletter, that might put you at the top of the decision-making process, where consumers may just choose you first. And so, we think there's a lot that can be done in this space in terms of lead capture or, capturing certain kinds of contact data. And, we're living in a world where with mobile phones and, even iPad, tablets, people are starting to, evolve the way they approach this space, right? The way they approach customer lead gen or customer retention. And so, yeah, I think there's a question on this in the future that will be asked on what how customer loyalty works, and I would love to touch upon that.
Right. So moving on, because we have been facing like the pandemic, right? COVID-19 has hit, a lot of things have been changed. A lot of people are looking at various digital solutions to really help them operate when they cannot run things physically. What then can they do online and whatnot, right? So as a media channel like you guys, Beam itself, have you guys noticed any trends at the background through the data? Do you see trends of people all trying to go online more, and whether Beam is really actively facilitating this kind of awareness so that more traditional SMEs in Malaysia can actually get on board into the whole digitalization era during this pandemic period?
Sure. Yeah, certainly a lot of new people are coming online. Like the older generation are now on Facebook, right? And they get a lot of their content on Facebook. And so one of the problems we see, yes, of course, there's a surge of traffic. More people are there. But there's also this element of inaccurate or misleading information where we find that the older generation are not aware of what's true on all these digital platforms. And so they tend to believe anything. They forward news on anything. And so one of the things that we try to do is we try to focus on making news simple to understand and as resourceful as possible, where they can get the key message that is factually correct through our platforms, in terms of news. But at the same time, we try to use these channels to bring up businesses, right? To bring up companies that are offering something so that we can bring it to the older generation and even the more traditional business owners. And so we've seen from our data that a lot more traditional business owners are moving towards digitalization. They're trying to understand this digital world or the tech world. And because we are sort of a startup community, a tech community as well, and we push out a lot of news on tech, they tend to read our news more to understand this space. And there's a lot to learn in this space, and there's a lot to unlearn, because the way you build a digital company is very different from, say, a brick and mortar company. In the digital space, there's very few winners, right? If you are a social media company, there's only 3 winners now, right? 3 or 4. Everyone else doesn't matter anymore, right? If you are the internet world levels the entire playing field where everyone has access to something. But at the same time, it creates a skew where some companies get everything, right? So, it's first mover or best mover advantage today. And so, one of the things we try to do is we are trying to bring up more entrepreneurs who are building startup companies, as well as SMEs that are digitalizing. So we try to bring their companies to, create more awareness of what their services are, what their solutions are, so that more people can use them and they have, they're able to get more customers or probably raise some money or even, find partners. Right. And so moving forward, what we will be focusing on, aside from trying to bring up more of these entrepreneurs, is also to invest in some of them. We actually have a new fund that we set up to invest in startup companies, as well as we also venture build companies. So we build our own software solutions that we supply to businesses. So we find that a lot of businesses today, they have their own problems, and a lot of their problems can be solved with technology or with software, but they don't know how to go about solving it. They don't understand tech very well. And so we try to come in with a solution that they can subscribe for. We call it a software as a service solution or SaaS solution that they can subscribe to, and that solves their problem. And so some of these solutions include customer retention, loyalty, lead generation, cashless payments, cash back and stuff like that. And so that's what we are working on right now.
All right, Kenneth. I think you've shared a lot about how SMEs or businesses can actually use various channels of digital media, be it their own social media page, be it if they really need a website. And the point of this whole thing at the end of the day is to create various content to actually really attract that kind of awareness, get people to decide on brand preference per se, and how, because of the pandemic, business have to even put more attention and effort into growing their presence in the digital media space, right? If not, what are they going to do if their store is closed right now, if the retail is closed right now? They still need to get certain activities running, right, to really capture the awareness, the attention. True, competition is even higher, but that would also mean that the effort that any businesses have to put into really make sure they excel in this is even stronger. All right, so Kenneth, thank you so much for your time for today. We have reached the end of this session over here. So I would like to wish all businesses out there, be smart in how you execute your digital strategies, and all the best to everyone. So, all right, Kenneth, thank you very much for your time. Hope to talk to you soon, man. Bye.
Thank you. Take care and stay safe. Bye.
Take care, bye. So guys, we've come to the end of this session. Stay tuned to the next session very soon.